Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kyoto Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, you know, I thought most of the big offseason rumors would be behind us by now. I think the only thing I'm still kind of waiting on is when is John Johnson III going to be signed to the Chargers? When I think that's very, very likely. But no, I'm starting to get a lot of questions about this particular rumor. You know what? It's one that actually does hold quite a bit of water. It seems that DeAndre Hopkins wants out of the Arizona Cardinals. This is something we already knew, right? This is something a lot of us, I think almost everybody in the NFL expects DeAndre Hopkins to have a new team next season. But no, it seems that he has a preference of teams that he would like to go to. He's narrowed it down to 2. And those 2 are the Los Angeles Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what? It's not just me, guys. Take a look at this is the source right here, okay? Burns and Gambo, one of these guys out of the Arizona Cardinals podcast. Take a look at what they have to say.
Being told that Hopkins prefers to go to either the Jaguars or the Chargers.
All right, and they go on to say it's because he wants to play with Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence. Now, this puts the Chargers in an interesting situation. We already have big contracts at wide receiver. Why would they want to be adopting another one? It would be a pretty big trade for the Chargers, by the way. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best in the game, one of the best wide receivers in football. It would be pretty huge, but is it possible? I got to tell you guys, this one actually feels like, yeah, it probably holds a little bit more water than some of the other rumors we've been hearing this offseason. So we're going to get into that. Before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. You guys been enjoying the offseason with NBA, maybe even a little bit of college basketball. If you guys want to get in on the action there, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. We also have our giveaway that we have to shout out. Of course, we are giving away this signed Asante Samuel Jr. jersey to one of my lucky subscribers. All you got to do to enter for this jersey is make sure you are subscribed. Only subs can win. And hit up the link in the description. Follow the instructions there. Very, very simple. Good luck to everybody. But, of course, we always do giveaways in 2s. We're also giving away this signed Sean Merriman jersey. Lights out to one of my crew members. All you got to do to be entered for this is be a member of my crew. And that's it. With that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this DeAndre Hopkins news. Lights, camera, action. DeAndre Hopkins to the Los Angeles Chargers. Can you guys imagine? Just first off, just on the surface of this video, I guys want you to imagine what the Chargers wide receiver room would look like, right? Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, and Josh Palmer. That would be actually pretty insane. Now, of course, we're still going to be missing that element of speed that, of course, a lot of Chargers fans that we need. I think DeAndre Hopkins is decently fast, right? He's definitely not slow, but it's definitely not the area, I would say, the direction I think Chargers fans were thinking the team would go in terms of pursuing a wide receiver this offseason. I think a lot of us had assumed that maybe they're going to go after a guy in the draft that's maybe in the top, like, let's say 4.34, 4.35, the mid 4.3s, to add that speed element to the roster that it so desperately needs. But this definitely adds a wrinkle to the Chargers' options at wide receiver this offseason. Now, again, it does feel like this holds water, okay? Because once again, the guy has come out and pretty much said he's got a place that he wants to be. I think there was even rumors before this that he was trying to get his way to the Los Angeles Chargers at some point in a trade package for the Chargers or to the Chargers, but that just didn't happen. That just kind of fell through. Now that things are starting to develop a little bit more, might the Chargers have a chance at adding the superstar wide receiver to the roster? And I think even more importantly, should the Chargers be adding him to the roster? Because that's a pretty big contract. And again, with the plans the Chargers could have at wide receiver, do they want to go this route in particular? Well, let's kind of dive a little bit deeper in this. So first off, I want to tell you guys, this isn't a new rumor, okay? I think it just began to resurface in the last couple of days. I did a little bit digging. It seems that Dan O of the NFL Network, one of those, talking sports heads, did mention that he thinks the Chargers should pursue DeAndre Hopkins. Take a look at some of these rumors, see why he wants to go to that team in particular, and see if they can take advantage of the situation and get D-Hop on the roster. But this first started back, I think, in January. Yeah, this was posted in January 10th, 2023, so it's been a couple of months removed since this. Why is this just now starting to become a reality? Well, I think it's because of another big piece of news we're going to go over in just a second. The first thing I want you guys as Chargers fans to realize is that this is very much so possible, but there are some big numbers in the way of the Chargers being able to execute on this, okay? Mainly, of course, it's going to be a money issue because right now, the Arizona Cardinals, of course, when you've got a player like DeAndre Hopkins on your roster and he wants out, you're going to try and get something in return. The Chargers are in a kind of a similar situation right now with Austin Eckler. Of course, we don't want to let him go, but if we do, I mean, at least a third rounder would be nice in return, but sometimes you just don't have a choice in the matter. That is probably going to be the case with the Arizona Cardinals, who seem that they are looking for some trade compensation in order to get DeAndre Hopkins to meet his request of changing teams. But there's so many things that are complicated behind that. For one, the contract, okay? If there's anything that's going to stop the Chargers or pretty much any team in the NFL from adding DeAndre Hopkins to their roster via trade, it's going to be this contract. And again, this is something the Chargers are not unfamiliar with at this point. Take a look at this. DeAndre Hopkins, 2023, he comes with a cap hit of $30 million. $30 million. Now, I'm not quite sure how they got to that point, but it looks kind of familiar to me. Take a look at last season's cap hit, $15 million, and then it jumps up to $30 million. It looks like to me somebody may have been restructured in 2022, pushing all this money to 2023 and creating this situation for itself in terms of, do the Cardinals need to move on? Do they want to move on? It seems more like DeAndre Hopkins wants to move on. No matter the case may be, or whatever the case may be, DeAndre Hopkins is connected to this number right now. $30 million is a lot of money. And not just to like any team, right? Not even a team that he wants to go to, but any team in the NFL is not going to look at the situation and say, yeah, you know what, we'll throw you a third rounder, a fourth rounder. And right now it seems the Arizona Cardinals are asking for too much. It seems that they want like a second or something like that. Even if the price were cheaper, I think this number in terms of contract is going to like make a lot of teams turn away. Okay, and that's the biggest thing that I think Chargers fans need to realize is that if DeAndre Hopkins is going anywhere via trade, he will not be coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. If trade is the way that he will be moving teams, the Chargers are automatically just not going to work out. And of course, you guys know it's because of our money situation. Take a look at the Chargers cap right now. Chargers cap, I think the last time I saw it was somewhere around $14 million. Can we take a look over here? $15 million, so almost $16 million. I think that's adjusted depending on what website you're looking at. So still not a lot of money, just about half of the amount that you would need to adopt that contract from DeAndre Hopkins. And that's certainly not going to work if the Chargers are going to trade for him. For one, if we were trading for a 31-year-old wide receiver named DeAndre Hopkins, I think I would be willing to give up like a third, maybe even a second round pick, depending on what the Chargers wide receiver room looked like. I don't think we're that desperate, so that automatically takes the asking price down. And then at the same time, that cap hit would make me say, dude, we're talking like seventh rounder. Like, we will adopt that contract in which we're going to have to move a ton of money around if we're giving away almost no draft capital, right? That's like the only way a trade would work out in order the Chargers being able to pick up DeAndre Hopkins. And at this point, if I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think anybody's going to make that trade. I think there's not a single team in the NFL that would be moving in on that DeAndre Hopkins asking price, not just by draft capital, but by, the $30 million attached to his name. No, instead, this is why I think the DeAndre Hopkins rumors are starting to heat up again, especially going to the Chargers, because we think something's going to happen very, very soon, okay? Take a look at this. DeAndre Hopkins rumors. Some teams believe the Cardinals will cut wide receiver amid trade buzz, okay? And this is a very big development in the DeAndre Hopkins to the Chargers narrative, all right? There's a couple of ways that they can do this. And I don't remember if this article is the one that pointed it out. I don't think it is. Basically, let's go back over to DeAndre Hopkins' contract because this changes everything. Let's say the Arizona Cardinals are looking to release a DeAndre Hopkins instead of trading him. So first off, right off the bat, you're not going to have to give up any draft capital for this guy. All right, you can pick him up via free agency, and he'd be able to sign wherever he wants. We already know there's two places he wants to be: Jacksonville and Los Angeles. Okay, and certainly he could go to the Jags. Maybe they have more money than we do. Who knows? But at the same time, it would be his decision. Secondly, this number here of $30 million, if I'm not to be mistaken, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be wiped clean. Right? DeAndre Hopkins would be able to negotiate a new contract with whatever team that he's going to. And that's a very big detail that cannot be skimmed over when talking about the possibility of a DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Chargers. Because the biggest reason that DeAndre Hopkins wants out, it seems, especially in considering those two destinations in particular, it was mentioned that it's because he wants to play with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert. And if you guys take a look at the history of a DeAndre Hopkins and the amount of quarterbacks that he's been able to play with, not very many good ones have been throughout his career, right? Kyler Murray has been pretty good the last couple of seasons since 2020, and then he had a couple of seasons with Deshaun Watson. But outside of that, this guy, it was what, like Brian Hoyer, and who else knows? There's a whole bunch of like backup quarterbacks making their way through Houston and Arizona at that point. I should say mainly Houston at that point. And DeAndre Hopkins, man, he really hasn't had that guy at quarterback to help him achieve his best career, let's say, year or whatever, the best version of himself, because the quarterback play just wasn't on par. Now, again, how much better is Justin Herbert than, let's say, a Kyler Murray? I think it's very fair to say a lot more, right? Because Kyler Murray's such a good quarterback, but I think his ground game plays a big part in why he's a good quarterback, right? His ability to scramble and get yards on the ground, just buy extra time, for his receivers, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that plays a big part of his game. With Justin Herbert, that plays a little part of his game, but his main part of his game is finding those receivers, especially receivers like a Keenan Allen that can consistently get open. And if you guys are looking for, let's say, almost a clone of Keenan Allen, perhaps with more speed and burst, it would be DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in the entirety of the NFL for a reason. Now, a lot of you guys would probably say, Director, he's old, right? He was suspended, I think, for 6 games last season, right? A PED thing or something like that. He came back. Are we worried, right, with the age? Are we worried? I'm going to tell you guys right now, I was one of those yahoos last season who decided to take a chance on DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy football, okay? And spoiler alert, I ended up winning my really, really big home league of 11 years because, I would say in big part because of that decision. He came back, I think in week 6, right? Week 6 or week 7, and this dude absolutely tore it up. This guy still has it, right? In a lot of the ways that I think Chargers fans would agree that Keenan Allen still has it. I think this dude is going to be relevant at least for another 2 or 3 seasons. The same way, and it's really funny because, again, we're talking about another Arizona Cardinal here. I think this guy has the longevity of a Keenan Allen and, let's say, a Larry Fitzgerald. I think both of these guys, or all 3 of these, I think there's only a few guys I feel this way about. I feel this way about Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and Devontae Adams, right? I think those 3 guys are going to have longer careers in the NFL because of the way you can utilize them, especially in the slot. Okay, and for that reason, I think that DeAndre Hopkins could end up being a very intelligent ad for the Chargers if they were willing to make some moves in terms of money. All right, I think they would definitely have to get creative with the money, figure out a way to get this guy on the roster. But the biggest advantage that you have is that DeAndre Hopkins, if cut, like it's being speculated in the NFL right now, I 100% believe this is going to happen. If he is cut, DeAndre Hopkins can negotiate his own contract. You guys want to know something interesting about D-Hop? I read that this dude is his own agent. Okay, I read that this dude wants to go to a contender. I read that there's a very likely chance that this dude takes a massive pay cut to go play with a contender, to go play with a quarterback that can match his skill set. If this man truly does decide, let's say, once he's cut free from the Arizona Cardinals, can go do whatever he wants. If this man does decide to take a nice little discount to go play with a guy like Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence, I think the Chargers should definitely consider this. And it's because of their own wide receiver situation. Guys, we're looking into, I would say, a magic ball right now. Okay, we're kind of looking into the future. The reason I referenced this situation of $15 million to $30 million earlier in the video is, guys, I want you to take a look at our own situation with Keenan Allen, right? Look at the cap hit this season, 12, almost 13 million. It jumps up to 34 million in 2024. I hate to tell you guys this, and I think there's a chance that the Chargers are able to figure out a way to keep Keenan Allen on the roster. I want him to retire a Charger. And again, I think this guy can play till he's like 35. I really, really do. But when you have a number that big, it makes your team, it forces them to make some tough decisions, right? And the same kind of decisions that we're seeing with the Arizona Cardinals right now, where they're like, ooh, we got to get $30 million off the books somehow. I think the Chargers may be put in that situation as well. The question is, who are the Chargers going to be asking to step into this role that, when this does happen, if this does happen with Keenan Allen? Are they going to ask Josh Palmer? I think Palmer would be okay, right? Definitely not anywhere near the caliber of a Keenan Allen. There's very few guys, I think, in the entirety of the NFL that I would feel comfortable about that. If we draft a guy this season, you would still need to wait for some development there. If we drafted, let's say, a Zay Flowers to go step into that slot role, you're still going to have to wait. He's no Keenan Allen. You could draft the best wide receiver in this class, maybe even next class, they would still not be Keenan Allen. But I think the Chargers would need somebody to replace him because of the money situation. Now, what if the Chargers finesse everybody? What if Tom Telesco is a money guru? What if Tom Telesco goes in there and says, you know what, D-Hop, we know you want to come play for the Chargers. We don't have the money right now, but are you willing to work with us? All right? Are you willing to work with us on a cheap deal for the next 2 or 3 seasons so you can come play with a Justin Herbert? I think for number one, I think there's a really likely chance that could happen. And number two, the Chargers, they could have a little bit more money to play with if they do end up cutting Keenan Allen next season. If the Chargers cut Keenan Allen next season, you're talking about a cap savings of $23 million that could go towards, let's say, a DeAndre Hopkins next season. But I think the real trick of the matter would be, and the only way that this would make it worth it is, let's say DeAndre Hopkins goes in here and he signs a contract for somewhere in the realm of like, I don't know, $7 million a season, right? Something kind of, again, he's taking a discount, right? Or we're getting a discount here. If he goes in there and says, you know what, I'm here to play, I'm here to contend. I've already listed you guys as one of the guys I want to go to. Let's go ahead and make a deal here, or maybe even $10 million, something like that. Let's say DeAndre Hopkins is on contract with the Chargers for the next 3 seasons at $30 million, $10 million a season, right? The Chargers, number one, they could structure that in a way where it's not going to cost a lot of money the first couple of seasons. And secondly, that cap hit of $10 million a season is a lot easier on the books than a Keenan Allen, who would count against, $34 million just next season alone. Does that make sense? So basically, you're keeping that high caliber play at wide receiver while not having to spend $34 million for 1 season, right? And then you would probably get a couple extra seasons out of DeAndre Hopkins. And in the meantime, you get that one magical season in 2023 where you have a wide receiver room of Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and Mike Williams. I don't know. It just feels like football, even in the back end, even in the terms of like the front office, right, with the money and Tom Telesco, it's a game, right? It's a game. And sometimes when you think 2 or 3 steps ahead, this is kind of the things what it kind of looks like, right? And as tough as it is for Chargers fans to think about losing a Keenan Allen, it would be very wise for the front office to be like, yeah, that's going to blow. It's going to suck. Chargers fans are not going to like this. But you know what? We've thought ahead, and at least we still have DeAndre Hopkins on this roster, right? We can afford his $10 million cap hit, whereas we couldn't afford Keenan Allen's. There's even rumor, guys, and I don't know if there's rumor. I think I read it somewhere on even Reddit, actually, I think is where I read it. There's a chance that they could even move on from Mike Williams as well because, again, he's got a very similar cap hit in 2024 of $32 million. If they were to cut both players, you're talking like $40 million in cap savings. And at that point, signing a DeAndre Hopkins would begin to look very, very good. Okay? So that's all I'm going to tell you guys. Just from my perspective, if DeAndre Hopkins is willing to go in there and take a pay cut, right? Let's say $10 million a season, which is more than fair, right? More than fair for the caliber of player he is. And the Chargers almost view him as an out in terms of keeping that wide receiver room strong while they deal with the Keenan and Mike consequences of 2024, then I kind of see this as a big possibility. The fact that he has stated he wants to play with the Los Angeles Chargers, he wants to play with Keenan Allen, the fact that he's his own agent, the fact that he can negotiate a team-friendly deal to go to the place that he wants to be, to finally get the quarterback that can actually throw him the ball, all sort of indicates to me that this rumor holds water, okay? There's some rumors where I feel like, I don't think it's going to happen. Odell Beckham Jr., I don't think that's going to happen. Even when I was so hoping for Jalen Ramsey, I didn't think that was going to happen, right? You guys can go back and watch those videos. This, however, this could happen, right? And it's because even if it's a little bit jagged, I see a pathway to this actually making a lot of sense, not just financially, but keeping that position group strong going into the future. While you are dealing with having to maybe cut a Keenan Allen, at least you have DeAndre Hopkins in your back pocket, okay? So you guys in the comment section below, let me know what you think of this situation. I know maybe a bit of a stretch for some of you guys. Maybe I didn't explain it very clearly because there's going to be a lot of people that dismiss this right away because of that $30 million cap hit that he would be carrying with the trade. Again, let me reiterate, the Chargers are not going to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. If I'm looking into the crystal ball and I'm telling you guys I'm seeing the future where the Chargers have got DeAndre Hopkins on the roster, it's because he was cut by the Arizona Cardinals so he could go play where he wanted. He negotiated a cheap contract with the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Chargers then were able to turn around and use that as leverage to go ahead and move on from Keenan Allen and that huge cap hit next season while still keeping a superstar wide receiver on the roster. That is my long-term plan if I am Tom Telesco, the GM of the Los Angeles Chargers. You guys let me know in the comment section below. Would you be willing to do this? Do you think this is possible? Are we playing the long con, or the Chargers and the director, are we playing the long con? Are we playing this intelligently? Does this theory hold water, or are we lunatics out here? Because honestly, again, I try not to go to bat too hard for some of these rumors that are a bit of a stretch, but this one just for some reason feels like something Tom Telesco would do. I don't know. It just feels like that kind of foresight that he practices. So you guys let me know. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you guys like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Can you guys imagine that one beautiful, magical season of D. Hop, Keenan, and Mike Williams all on the same team? It would be absolutely disgusting.